we're back and we're still handling basic communication skills. In our last class, we talked about listening and speaking. Listening and speaking. So today, let's talk about reading. Reading is an advanced form of communication, because when you've learned how to listen as a child and you've learned how to speak, you would obviously want to read what someone else must have written. So reading is heavily contrasted with writing. It's heavily contrasted with writing, because what do you read? You read written materials, things that have been written down, like texts and novels and stuff. So you read things that must have been written down. So reading is heavily contrasted with writing. So what is reading? Reading involves the conscious vocal recording of important texts that are written down, obviously, and this must involve the mouth and the voice, vocal. That's the major point of reading. It is vocal. That means the voice is involved. It is also cognitive, because the brain is involved, as well as the psyche, which is the mind. The mind is involved. So for us to successfully read, we must have all of these things intact. I don't want to dwell so much on reading because this is where we're headed. Writing. So reading, we have some kinds of reading. We have skimming, we have scanning, we have normal reading, and so forth. What is skimming? What is skimming? What is scanning? Skimming involves a fast form of reading, very, very fast. Why do you skim? You skim to get major ideas, major points, central points, central desk points. What is the text all about? Let's say we're reading a particular passage on HIV and AIDS. What are we skimming for? We're skimming to get the central idea. That means we're skimming to get what is HIV, what contrasts it with AIDS and the rest. We're skimming to get those ideas very fast. It is very, very fast, but not as fast as scanning. Scanning is faster, much faster than skimming by very many scholars. Scholars like L. Ayo, he's a scholar of the University of Uyo. Have said that scanning is much faster than skimming. And why do we scan? What do we scan for? We scan for dates. That means that, okay, let's say HIV and AIDS was first found in Nigeria in, let's say, 1999. So why are you scanning? You want to get these dates, 1999. So you just start scanning. You're scanning through till you get where you have 1999. You scan for dates, yeah. You also scan for names, important names. The first person that had HIV and AIDS, the name of the person might be there, how it came about. So you scan straight to get the name of that individual. So that is why you scan. So maybe because you don't have enough time for you to read using the normal reading technique, you just have to scan very quickly. Scanning is as important as skimming, but scanning is not really advisable for learners of English language, because when you scan, some ideas are lost. Obviously, some of the ideas are lost, and you don't get all of the points. You're only scanning for dates, names, and essentials. So, normal reading, which is the one that is expected of every native speaker and every second language learner. So what is normal reading? This is a technique that involves one to read using his or her words per minute, WPM. Because my word per minute will be different from your word per minute, different from your friend's word per minute. For instance, I might be able to read like 70 words per minute. For you, being a slow reader, for instance, might get up to like 40 words per minute. But the point is that, remember what our point is, which is what? Meaning. At what time can you make meaning out of that text? For someone to consume all of these, it might take the person 3 minutes. Or for some other person, it might take the person 10 minutes. The part is, as far as you get meaning out of all of this, don't care that, except you're given a time frame, obviously, but it doesn't really matter how much time it takes you to get all of this done. The point is that make sure you get meaning out of it. So for normal reading, it involves you taking your time, enough time to make sure that you consume all of the texts, all of the words in the text, and make sure that you consume all of them and digest them and make meaning out of them. That is normal reading. So we've talked about skimming, we've talked about scanning, we've talked about normal reading. So let's say you're reading for an exam. First of all, it is very important to know what you're reading for. That means for every reading, there must be a purpose. I'll say that again. For every reading, there must be a purpose. Why are you? This purpose means why. Why are you reading? Why are you reading? What are you reading for? Let's say you're reading for an interview. What method will be very important for an interview? Of course, you have to skim at some point, scan at some point, but you have to first of all read normally, normal reading. Get all of the points of the company in question, the company name, their logo, reason for the logo, if there's any reason, if there isn't a bird. Oh my god, my bird is a very wonderful bird. If there isn't a bird as their logo, why there isn't a bird as their logo? You have to find out all of these things. Why? And you get all of those things when you read normally, normal reading. You get all of those points. But at some point you have to scan, maybe at the end of, like before the interview, a minute or a second before, you just scan through. I'm looking for a date, I'm looking for a year, I'm looking for something. And that is where the scanning comes in. So each of these reading styles or techniques have their own purpose. So we've talked about reading, that reading involves the voice. We've said that it is vocal, it involves the voice, it also involves the brain. That means it's cognitive, it involves the mind, and the major point of reading is meaning, which is also the major point of communication. Why are we learning all of these things? So we can easily and effectively communicate. Yes. So we're done with listening and speaking, and we're also done with reading. And what have you said? So that vocal, voice, cognitive brain, psychic mind, skimming, scanning, normal reading, all of these help us to make sense of communication. So let's go over to writing, which is the most technical. Remember what I said about listening? What I said about listening? I said listening is the most. I said listening is the most important. If you can remember, it's the most important skill of communication. Don't forget this. And now we're saying writing is the most technical. Skill of language. Very technical. Because for you to effectively write, you must have gone through all these other processes of listening, of speaking, of reading. Because when you must have read and consumed the arts, then you start having this hunger to replicate what you must have read into writing. So let's talk about writing. What is writing? Writing involves basically symbols. Symbols. So we say writing is a symbolic representation of ideas, emotions, feelings, thought patterns, idiosyncrasies. I think I need to write that. Right?